Alright, on the bench today, this is a 9060. Now, sorry if my voice sounds like complete doo-doo. I'm getting over some tonsillitis issues, lost my voice for a little bit, but it's coming back. So just excuse the terrible voice and we'll dive into this 9060. Now, this one's out of a 2018 Chevy Traverse. It's got about 150,000 miles on it. And this is another one of those GM and Ford bastard children. And the client complained about jerking upon acceleration, like a slipping almost. We noted it and we determined it was converter shutter, very severe converter shutter. And we also noticed that there are nuts all over this transmission. So we're going to advise the client to be careful where they're parking this vehicle. Rodent damage is not fun to try and repair when you got wires chewed up in places that you don't want chewed up. Didn't note any problems with the car right now, but it's only a matter of time before these little furry pests get into something not supposed to be into. So we'll let them know to be careful where they're parking and maybe put out some deterrents under the hood, keep them from nesting under the warm engine bay. This is our start-stop accumulator and motor. This is what keeps the transmission in gear whenever the engine shuts off. Because if your engine shuts off, the converter stops spinning. Converter stops spinning, the pump stops pumping. This little thing here has a pump built into it, and it is directly connected to the forward clutch, and it keeps it primed and in gear. That way when it starts back up again, you just gotta let off the brake pedal and take off. Without it, it would I don't want to pry too hard on it, but it's making me do things I don't want to do. Without it, it would get a bad lurching sensation whenever the car restarted and the converter started spinning again. The pump primed the clutch up, it would jerk into gear. With this, it allows it to stay in gear, allows that clutch to stay engaged. That way you have a smooth transition. When you let the brake off, it just accelerates. And then the pump's turning and it keeps everything filled up. Alright. I'm moving a little slow. I'm sorry. I'm still recovering. What I like to do, I tried doing these, I mark where these little brackets go on the cover. That way when I'm reassembling them, I'm nice to my guys and I put those little brackets back where they went. If they're mean to me, I just leave them off and give it back to them in a basket and say figure it out. But they're usually not, so I try to be nice and remember to put those brackets on correctly. Makes their job a little easier. It's just got a rubber gasket here, and they usually don't get stuck. They get stuck right here. Just gotta give them a little pry, it'll pop off. Get the dowel pins out. Rubber gasket there too. A little bit of something down there. And we'll get the valve body off. The main wiring harness. on the input sensor, one of the sensors there. I believe that's the output sensor and that's the input sensor. And now to remember which bolts, just on this one, just go hog crazy until I get them all out. And what's nice about this one is that the harness comes off with the solenoids, so you don't have to worry about unplugging them all right away. I'm pretty sure this one does come off in segments, so I believe there's bolts underneath here you have to get to. Gotta make sure we disconnect our neutral safety switch. Now they put this one on the back side. It's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. So that's the upper valve body, the solenoid body, and there's a little secret in here I'm going to show you that you may remember from previous videos. There's longer bolts, there's shorter bolts and longer bolts. And these two are the shorter ones. See, that's the threads there. The threads, that's a much shorter bolt. That's going to hold this plate on, and these are going to hold this in place. And this case does have check balls in the actual tracks here. They do fall out, so you need to have the proper information to put them back in place correctly. This had an issue. This type of this generation of unit had an issue with the check ball pushing to the plate, and I think it was one. Usually it involves no reverse. They'll get no reverse, and this one's got reverse. So I don't think the ball is pushed through yet, but we can try and find the one that is a likely culprit. We can see if there's any damage to it. One of the check balls already fell out inside there, so I'll just put it aside for now. We'll come back to that. And our output sensor. Alright, and the check balls, I've got the information, I know where they go, so I'm not going to worry about them. But the proper information is paramount when you're working on transmissions or anything that's this intricate. That will trip you up faster than anything, not having the proper information. Alright, so we want to get all these 13 millimeters out. 13. Did I mix up my 12 and 13? Nope, I got two 12s. Right on. And then we'll split this case in half and dive into the gut. Alright, now these bolts hold in the pump to the side of the case. I take them out now because it's easier and more stable to do it now than versus when it's apart. See how shallow these bolts are? They make them so freaking shallow. My sockets get so used up. I'll put on a fresh socket here. Get some good force behind it. I don't know why they have to make these so shallow. I mean, what's the point? Just gives you less. These fasteners are coming up with, they're so ignorant. So it makes torque on them not even harder. Trying to put the proper torque load on them. Just idiotic. So this one's giving us some hell. We can try something. So I used the hell out of this tool here. It allows for a good shock load as you turn. Put some pressure on it, turn it, it'll smack with a hammer and gives a good little shock load to get those stubborn bolts out without having to cry for hours. Alright, so I got all those bolts out. We're going to split this case. Similar to most front wheel drives. Got a couple dowel pins here. Nice thing about it is it's got a case gasket in the middle instead of silicone. Makes it easier to clean up. So you find a good, you don't want to pry too much here. You can see how the case, don't pry too much, just a little bit, because if you pry too hard here, you can end up cracking this. You want to find the edges and pry on those. Something like that. Try and pry near the dowel pins themselves. Something's coming loose. And you got the one here at the bottom. Down here. There we go. So now I should be able to pull that right off. Alright. There's the converter support, another off-axis pump, a differential, sun gear. This one has a bearing support in the case because it's all-wheel drive. This is our chain drive, transfer gears. Got to check these bushings out really well. They've got a lot of weight on them for how small they are. Case gasket. Gotta watch for wear here a little bit. You can see it's been pushing into the case, got some hot spots on it. And so this is one of the reasons why people People harp on filter and fluid changes. You got to change your filter and your fluid, and I don't. I mean, yeah, it's a good idea. Change your filter and fluid if you can, but a lot of the newer cars and trucks, the complexity of getting to the filters is increased. On the trucks, you got to pull exhaust pipes down. You got to pull coolers out of the way, and you know the pans are a pain in the butt to get down, and it takes you 2, 3, 4 hours to get things apart just to change the transmission filter, and then to fill the transmission back up, you got to take all these different. It's hard enough filling the fluid up because you have to get it up to temp. You got to make sure it's running. You got to pump it in. So what you're adding a ton of complexity to something, and if you make something too complex, what's going to happen? People are just going to ignore it. So instead of recommending the filter, just recommend a drain and fill or an evacuate and fill. And I say that because there's 2 filters on this unit, and they're both. This is how far we had to get to the filters. Here's your main sump filter, and then your auxiliary filter for the start-stop motor. You can't change them unless you take the unit apart. So if this one's okay with the drain and fill, why can't the one with the serviceable filter be okay with the drain and fill? That's all I'm saying. It's like the logic should apply both ways. Make it easier. Just get the fluid changed, and it'll help things tremendously. Because this filter is no different than any other filter they put in the rear-wheel drive trucks. It's got the same material inside of it, the same molded plastic. It doesn't last any longer than the other one. There's no reason to go out of your way to change a filter. These things don't clog up for no reason. If a filter is clogged up and causes the car to stop moving, you've already got bigger problems. Changing the filter is not going to fix anything. It might get it to move a little bit, but then you're going to find the other problem where all the debris came from is now slipping. So just change the fluid more often. Don't worry so much about the filter. The filter can do its job. It's a high quality filter, and in most applications it's lifetime. Like this, it's a lifetime filter. You can't there's no service interval for this filter. You're not ripping this transmission apart just to put a filter in it. Sorry, it's not happening. So just take that logic and use it on other vehicles that have these so-called serviceable filters, because they're the same, pretty much the same filter. Rant over. So these are the oil baffles that keep oil from slinging into the gear set and aerating the fluid. And more stupid fasteners that they come up with. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand this fetish they have with these fasteners. I don't know. You gotta buy a whole new box of tools every time you open a new transmission up or something. 8mm gets them out. Doesn't really damage them. And I've got a socket that fits it for torquing them down. I don't like using the socket to take them apart. It wears that socket out too fast. And since the 8 doesn't really damage it, then for teardown purposes, just go with the old 8mm. Alright, we got all the bolts in the front out, we got all the bolts in the back out. They should come off now. And there's a little bit of a... This design to me was not smart. Ford did a better job than GM did on these. So they put actual tracks in this side. It's a chain drive off-axis pump. We've seen that a few times before. Nothing strange there. They've got a little separator plate in here, and it's got a little bit of sealer on this side, but not the other side. See how they put sealant here? I don't know, I'm not an engineer. Looks like the sealant just goes from here to here. What does it seal? I don't know. No other sealant. Had insurance? I don't know, I'm not an engineer. I didn't design this thing. I'm just here to fix it. And we got our regulators. So this is torque converter, clutch control, and pressure regulator stuff in here. Got to check these bushings out real close in the stator support. And of course, let's get this filter off and drain it. There's a big check ball in there that just rolled away. You little turd. I'm gonna put that aside. I need that for later. Put you there. Alright, let's dive into this unit. It's very similar to the front wheel drive 6-speed units. Similar setup, but different internals. I've done a bunch of the 8F35s, which is a smaller version of the 8-speed, the Ford, and the 9-speed Chevy are pretty much the same design. For whatever reason, Ford, both transmissions are capable of 9 speeds. Ford did not decide to use the 9th gear, and I believe GM detuned theirs to only 8 speeds in the later versions, I think. If everything I read on the internet is true. Get this beefy snap ring out. This pretty much holds all of the gear train in. Alright, that is beveled, so it's got to go in a certain way. Alright, let's see. Oh, yeah. That's the trick. So that's the entire gear train. It's pulled the whole thing out. One fell swoop. Let's get all these fucking turds. Oh, I shouldn't curse. Let's get all these turds out of here. All those aspiring young transmission builders watching at home. Don't want to hear me dropping the F-bomb. This is a apply piston the bottom down here. Go ahead and drain it and worry about that later. And let's go ahead and pull this apart. So this is forward. It's the clutch hub here. I believe it's the forward. You got two clutches here and here. Duty. Yeah, they're a little dark. That's about what I expect, 150,000 miles. And this is the, look at the hiccups all of a sudden. This is a unique piece to the GM and Ford 8 9-speed transmissions. This is a selectable one-way clutch, and what it does is it allows the element to lock one way, freewheel one way, like a regular one-way clutch, but it also see if I can make it dance. And so by fluid pressure, you can lock it both ways. Right there. It's locked both ways now. So they call it a selectable one-way clutch because you can select freewheel one way, lock the other way, or lock both ways. And it's all in this one convenient package. Planetaries on the 8 speeds, Ford version with the watch out for planetary pinions going bad. Not as prevalent on the 9 speeds in the GM version. Again, I don't know how you joint venture a transmission, yet some of your most integral parts end up with wildly different failure points. It's an enigma. I don't know how they do that. And the difference in the GMs, they have this extra clutch setup down here. You gotta be careful taking it apart. This is a very complex. There's 2 sets of apply pistons in here, and the bearings are part of the clutch apply. So here's a big roller bearing, and that roller bearing is going to sit on this applier plate here. If that was seated all the way, go. So that's going to sit right there. Big roller, and then you have all these clutches here inside that sit on top of this roller, and then this element sits there. So this thing's going to spin between 2, and then it's pushed together and applied, but it still spins. So the roller here and the roller there. It's a very strange setup. I haven't seen that in any other transmission before. Got a double. This is the bearing rides. That bearing ride's there, and the clutch is right here. Then you flip it over, and we got more clutches. And you got some slippage going on here. Slip, 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 slippity slip. And we'll be checking out bushings and all that happy stuff too. Alright, let's see here. So 3-5 reverse, 4-5-6. You're gonna make me do it, aren't you? So this one's gonna have a snap ring in here that holds the input shaft to the drum. That is pretty well ring grooved right there. You can actually see a step in it. Yeah, a little slipping going on there too. So we got 2 sets of clutches that have been slipping. I mean, not majorly, but definitely some hot spots in them. We'll get the 3.5 reverse apart here in a little bit. I gotta let it drain. Got ring grooving in the drum support there. Let's look at the valve body. We talked about it earlier, and there is a little surprise in here that we've talked about in other transmissions. And if you guessed it, you're correct. It's pulse dampeners. Pulse dampeners. We're still using them, and they're still failing. So at 150,000 miles, I'm going to expect these to be pretty rough. The last one I did was at 160,000 miles, and they were tough shape. So in this upper valve body, I've got 2 of them. Not terrible. Darker on this side, lighter on that side, indicating somewhere. Not bad. And I've been, you see there's a little wear here. These are not as bad as the last one I saw. Not terrible. And we got a couple more in here. I'm not crying about that. Yeah, it's got a little bit. You can see it's dark and then light on one side. So, I mean, they got a little wear to them, but for the mileage, I'd expect much worse. Much worse. I don't see any major check ball damage anywhere. We've got 1, 2 check balls here. That one trying to escape. Let's go and pop these off. Pain in the butts. Alright, let's cut those off. We got new ones that come in the kit. They're whatever. And if you look, this here has significant wear. This is the hole, the check ball hole, where it usually beats to the plate. And you can, once you get a little ridge right there, once it beats to the plate, you lose reverse. So this one's going to need an updated plate, because they use the steel check balls. I don't know why, after years and years and years of steel check balls, GM knows the damage steel does. This is a common issue. They've had this happen since the 700 R4 back in the 80s. They'd have steel check balls pushed through plates routinely, and here we are in 2025, and or at least up to 2018, we're still using steel check balls. I guess they save like 3 cents in each one of these check balls. I guess that adds up to a lot of money. Alright, so I'll get this apart, and if I didn't mention it, this is also a warranty job. Not a warranty that we're having a warranty company that is going to determine whether or not they cover it or not, or cover the repair, or if the customer's going to get screwed. So we're going to call them up now, have the inspector come back out again, show them what we got. Looks like there's some slippage going on in the clutches. We got converter failure for sure. And we got some damaged hard parts here. So we'll present our case and see what they want to do and go from there. And I apologize for how slow the video was this time. I'm still not feeling good, recovering. As of the video recording, it's a couple days before Christmas. So we're going to get some time off. I'm going to get some rest and relaxation. And I'll be back at it beginning of the year, hopefully with my voice intact, and I can move through a lot quicker. Thank you for watching.